Hey everybody, it's Romania Black. I've been nervous the last 4 episodes, and this is no different. I've taken a solid week off from watching Attack on Titan because, one, my brain was mush after episode 6, but also two, I got a stomach virus over the weekend, and I was gonna record and then was like, nope, don't feel good. And I'm still not 100%, like I've got like some soreness, and so my body's like, you're in pain, and my brain's like, well, while you're already in pain, let's watch Attack on Titan. Oh my god! So I've usually had the rule of 8 with anime, especially short seasons, but no, for Attack on Titan, it's the rule of 6. Because I feel like the 6th episode, I've thought about this since watching episode 6 and letting my brain cool off. But I've thought about this since watching episode 6. This is going to be a long intro, by the way. Sorry. But I realized that episode 6 of each season of Attack on Titan so far, and I'm technically splitting season 3 into 2 parts. So whatever episode 6 and part 2 is, I don't want to know. But so far, the 6th episode of each season with Attack on Titan has been like a turning point. I said that episode 10 in season 2 was a turning point, and it was. But episode 6 in season 1 was The Girl That Saw the World. And so in that episode, we came to the conclusion that Eren had been eaten by a Titan. He'd lost his arm, his leg, had been eaten. Thomas had died. Several other scouts had died. And we came to the realization that, yeah, Mikasa and Eren killed some people as kids. So at that point, if you're watching the series and you've reached episode 6, you're like, do I keep watching or not? And I did. So then we got to episode 6, which was Warrior in season 2. And it's like, okay, Bertolt and Reiner are the Colossal and Armored Titan. This world's getting crazy. Things are getting expanded. Ymir's a Titan. Do you keep watching or not? And I did. And then we got to this last episode and it's like, so Eren ate his dad and became the coordinate. And this world is not black and white at all. It all depends on your perspective, on how you view the world. And do you want to keep going? And I do. So each 6th episode has been a checkpoint of do I want to keep going with the series? And I do. I talked to my brother the other day, and he has not spoiled me. He's been very good about not spoiling because I've threatened him. So I was like, I made it to episode 6. I made it to where I found out that Grisha was eaten by Eren. And my brother was like, he's like, I was really into Attack on Titan like around season 1 and that type of story. So that point was kind of, he didn't make it past the checkpoint. He did, but he did it begrudgingly. And so I was like, but no, this is my jam. This is my jam. Like getting into this is getting some heavy stuff. It's getting dark. I'm on board with it so far. I may change my mind and, by episode 6 of part 2, but not yet. Not yet, friends. Not yet. But before I start, I just want to say a couple of things. And again, y'all are being awfully conservative with your comments, which I appreciate. You're not spoiling me. That's why I wanted to watch ahead and get to this episode, because I thought, okay, everybody's been pretty quiet with episodes 3, 4, and 5. That means they know episode 6 was going to be bonkers and they're just being nice, but I want to watch episode 7 before they watch episode 6. So as I'm recording this, episode 5 has come out on Patreon, episode 3 has come out on YouTube, and episode 6 is coming out tomorrow, so on Patreon. So I'm like, I've got to get this recorded now before things get crazy, because I feel like after you watch episode 6, a lot of you are going to be like, ooh, we need to talk about some things. But as I have sat and thought about episode 6, there's a couple things I didn't get a chance to talk about because my brain had melted. So now that it's reforged itself, I want to talk about a couple of things. First off, a lot of you in episode 3 on YouTube and on Patreon have commented about Sonus's conversation with Hanji, and I think that a lot of the interpretations you all have pointed out are awesome. I hadn't even thought about them this way, but the thing that strikes me the most is that there's a connection between Sonus and Hanji's conversation and Erwin and Pixis's conversation. Sonus is saying to Hanji, like, there can be no light without darkness, no darkness without light. Like, you can take us out, but there's always going to be somebody in that role. And it might be you in that role of being the peacekeepers. We've been keeping the peace all these years within the walls. Now, how are you going to do it? Like, that sort of scenario. And that kind of ties to what Erwin was telling Pixis. Pixis is like, is there ever going to be a time when humans aren't fighting each other? And Erwin's like, yeah, when there's no humans left. It's just human nature. There's going to be conflict. The thing that makes it all elevated And crazy is the existence of the Titans. If it was just people versus people, we've seen that story before, right? But this existence of the royal family that could alter memories, this existence of the royal family whose blood has some kind of magical property, and this existence of the royal family and the Titans, it elevates everything to a new level. And it's what makes this series so interesting, is just getting this lore and this mythology kind of built in, and how these characters who have been so far rooted in this very realistic medieval setting, how do they deal with that, right? How do they deal with that knowledge? So it's interesting, that the parallels in that conversation. But also, a couple of things too. Technology, that's the one thing I didn't talk about in episode 6 that I wanted to get to. And I was so focused on the tie-in with the Ackermans and everything that I didn't get to it. But it's been bugging me this entire series why technology has not been advancing. I was like, we've been stuck with cannons for 100 years. You've been stuck with the same guns and bows and arrows, and you've just now developed the ODM gear and been tweaking on it. You've just now been I was going to say working on it, and I said tweaking, and I ended up with twerking, and here we are. It's episode 7 of season 3. But it's been bugging me this whole series. I'm like, why? I said back in episode 2, I'm like, why is there not a Zeppelin? Why is there... Armin's parents got killed for having a hot air balloon. Why isn't this technology in existence? It's not in existence because the royal family's been keeping everything at a status quo for the past 100 years. There has been no advancement in technology or advancement in anything because the royal family's not let there be. Because if there is advancement in technology, then that's just another way for people to get over the walls. So it makes total sense now. It makes total sense that there's been no advancement in technology. The history books have been changed. No one knows how the Titans work because they've all had their memories erased. It's been just keeping the status quo and keeping time stagnant for 100 years where there is no advancement. It's just humanity stuck in the birdcage, right? You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You just live your humdrum life over and over again in a never-ending, never-changing cage. And it's been like that for 100 years, and the royal family's been around that. So again, as I said in episode 6, I cannot see Eren being on board with the royal family at all, especially if he figures this out. He's like, oh, you've been keeping us in this cage this whole time? Hell no. And I don't blame him at this point, right? The thing that's missing is we don't understand the Titans' perspective. Like I said in the last episode, it's kind of become this 3-party thing. We've got the Survey Corps alongside maybe the Ackermans and the Eastern Clan and the defectors over here in this wing. You've got the Titan shifters over in this wing, which the curious thing is, I don't know if there are a lot of Titan shifters and we know there's a lot of Titans, but I don't know if there's a lot of Titan shifters or if it's just a small group and they're just like a little rebel group over here. And then we have the government, the royal family, and the military police. So it's interesting. It's crazy, right? You've got the societal structure that wants to keep everything in place. You've got the questioning group that wants to shake things up and be free. And you've got the Titan shifters that want to just destroy the establishment. So you've got these 3 factions. And the thing that this series is exploring is the idea that depending on which faction you align with, you think your cause is right. You think what you're doing is right. So, and you might not be wrong. That's the thing. There is no black and white hero and villain to me at this point. Yeah, you can say the Titan shifters have killed 250,000 people. Yeah, absolutely. And of course, my dog, whatever. You can say whatever. But at the end of the day, the military police and the politicians and everybody's been killing people too. We don't know how big those numbers are and how big they've been for 100 years. They've been sentencing people to turn into Titans. We don't know what those numbers are either. So we kind of get an idea with the Survey Corps because they've been keeping count of how many Titans they've killed. So there's a little bit there, but yeah, it's all mucked up, and I like it. My brain's not gonna like it, but I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this vibe. And so then yeah, a couple other things too before we start. And I realize this is going to be an incredibly long intro. Konstantinos Keftaris noted about Marcel and Ymir. Before Ymir ate Marcel, she had human teeth, and then after she ate Marcel, she had sharp teeth. I actually noticed that back in episode 5. That's why it threw me off that it was the same Titan, because the teeth threw me off. But I've not really thought about it since then. I was like, oh, it's just a design thing. But no, it's Attack on Titan. Everything counts. Everything matters. There's a reason. So I'm like, why did Marcel have sharp teeth? Was he like gonna dig or something? Or could he break through? Could he like chomp? Was that chain chomp and he could like chomp through everything? I don't know. I'm assuming we're gonna find that out. We need to know the Titan perspective. We need to know from the Titan shifter's perspective. And now that line from the Beast Titan that said, not yet, huh? I'm wondering if that means he's like, oh, Eren, you don't know the truth yet, do you? You will eventually, and then you'll come over to our side and to try to find things out. And that may be the case. Eren may be like, I've got to get over to the basement. I've got to get over the wall, over to Wall Maria in Titan territory to find things out, to learn the truth. Eren and Erwin have so many similarities. He's like, I feel like Eren is going to want to find the truth out just as much as Erwin. And I like that parallel between them. And then the last thing is, just something in the back of my head before we start this episode, is wondering if the Ackermans were originally given the Titan shifter powers, if they were the original warriors, and over time different members of the Ackerman family were eaten by other Titans and turned into Titan shifters. Because we can assume maybe that Reiner and Bertolt, their last name is not Ackerman, but they may have ate an Ackerman that was there. The Ackermans could have been the Colossal Titan and the Armored Titan, and then Bertolt and Reiner ate them and became got those powers, right? So whenever Kenny said that they were warriors that protected the king, I wondered if they were originally the original Titan shifters. The king gave them that ability to protect the royal family, and then slowly they dissented and turned on the king. I don't know. But this episode's called Wish. I wish for it to not make me stressed. But that's not going to happen. It's Attack on Titan. It's going to be stressful. But yeah, I don't know how we're getting through this. They're going into an underground chapel that's just walls, one way in, one way out, unless they literally burst through the ground and make their own way out, I guess, like Grisha did. But I don't know. And I think at the end of the episode, I was like, who's going to eat Eren? Well, I assume they're going to try to turn Historia into a Titan to eat Eren so that she can become the coordinate. But is that really what's going to happen? I don't know. And what's Kenny's plan all this? What's the Kenny squad going to do? What's Levi and them going to do? I'm convinced Levi's his nephew. It's all coming into a head. And I think that Erwin and his crew is going to show up right at the aftermath. They're going to get there right at the worst time. So I don't know, y'all. I'm really nervous about this episode. I've been nervous about it for a week, but there's no holding back now. I've reached the checkpoint where I can either stop now or keep going. And I'm going to keep going, obviously. So we shall see then, I guess, right? This is the longest intro I've ever done. Let's start. We're going to start episode 44, season 3, episode 7 of Attack on Titan, Wish. And we're going to start that here in 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Hi, friends. Oh my gosh, that episode was amazing. I had to get the whiteboard out. I was like, it's over. It's done. We're going to just litter this with amazingness because this episode was so freaking good. I was so nervous going into this, and it was like a roller coaster of just this episode and episode 6 back to back. Brain mushing, emotional, jarring wonderment. These 2 episodes back to back are amazing. I feel like episode 6 has the same level of like tension and hype and craziness as episode 6 as Warrior from season 2, but then this episode just cranks it and follows it in the same boat. I feel like episode 7 of season 2 was good. It was good. It was a great follow-up. You had the big battle and everything. This was like the suspense, the intensity, the lore, everything. Kenny, not exactly a double agent, but self-serving. Okay, we're gonna talk about all this. So many answers and yet so many questions as per the Attack on Titan usual. And I'm Historia, my girl. I had been so worried since episode 4, basically, that she drank the Kool-Aid, and she had for quite a bit. And then it was Ymir. And shining through, helping us. Ymir is S tier even when she's not even appeared in the season officially. Just showing up and reminding Historia, being like, you should live for yourself. You shouldn't have to live for anybody else. You should live a life that you're proud of. And there's so much to talk about with this episode, and there's so many parallels. The Eren and Historia parallels. Oh my god. The parallels. I've made parallels between Eren and Erwin and Eren and Levi, but the Eren and Historia parallels, and there's so many moments in this episode that are specifically tying Rod and Historia and Grisha and Eren together, and there's so much to talk about. I love this episode, and I love at the end the metaphor of her breaking the chains, breaking the wheel Daenerys style, saying, screw this wheel, screw this routine, nah. You want me to kill Ymir? No, man, we're gonna help Ymir. I'm like, oh, because here's the thing. They were all like, the whole thing Rod said was the original king said we should be controlled by the Titans. And she's like, why would we kill them then? I'm like, oh, we're opening up some cans of worms here and some interesting things. And I have some theories. We need to talk about this episode. This was just, I am like on cloud 9. This was so good. But yeah, okay. Anytime they start out with the OP, it's like it's over. You know it's going to be a great episode. So yeah, we need to set this up while we're talking about this. So we have established that it has been, I wondered about this in the last episode, if it had really been 107 years, or if the Titan had just erased people's memories to make them think that it had been 100 years. But it has been. It has literally been 107 years. So, can y'all see that? Yeah. So it has been 107 years. And we had the original Titan. So I wasn't off base saying that the original Titan came from the royal family. As far as we know, the original, it had a name. It was called the Founding Titan. Here's the thing. That does not mean it was the original one. That means it was the founding one of Ye Old Wall Kingdom. It was the founding one, right? So we are led to believe, and I'm just going to say the 3 walls and the chapel where everything goes down. I'm going to assume that the founding Titan is the one that made the walls and the one that made the chapel. The question is, though, and Rod Reese did not really answer this question, so this is what I find curious in all this. I'm going to put over here in a different color. Titany questions. We're going to play devil's advocate for the Titans, right? So our Titan questions over here, and one of them being the Titans in the walls, right? Because here's the thing. Old Rod Reese does not answer that question. He does not answer that there are Titans in the walls. And Historia doesn't bring it up. And again, in the moment, in the tension of the episode, the last thing Historia and Eren and anybody is focusing on are the Titans in the walls. But the fact that Rod Reese says that the original founding Titan created the walls in the chapel. It said that the same Titan created the walls in the chapel. So it may not have been the founding Titan, but the same Titan did all that. The fact that it was one Titan that did all of that is a bit insane, right? Because that's hundreds and hundreds of miles of wall that this one Titan created by themselves out of their skin. I don't think that's what happened. I get the impression that maybe the founding Titan, my theory could be that the founding Titan made the Titans in the walls secrete their skin and create the wall themselves, and he just kind of founded it and kind of molded it up and said, okay, here's a wall. But so reasons why the Titans would hate the founding Titan, the original coordinate, could be that it trapped all their fellow Titans inside the walls, because those Titans have been stuck there for 100 years just lying dormant, serving this one Titan. We're going to talk about that. Interesting. But yeah, so we had the founding Titan. That's who we're seeing. And the question is this the coordinate? Is this the coordinate we are led to believe? Could be. Probably is. But it's not confirmed. It's just said so. And I'm watching the Crunchyroll version now, so maybe we'll get some things on this. But, Kenny. Okay. So, I guess my question is, in all of this, why he had to have Historia by themselves to do this ceremony. And I'm guessing that the reason is that, one, the family doesn't want to know how the process goes. They don't want outsiders to know that they turn each other into titans and have them eat family members. That'd be kind of creepy. They don't want them to know that, but mainly because they want the only target in the room to be the coordinate that's going to get eaten. They want the titan to turn around, see, in this case, Eren, and only want to eat Eren. They don't want them to be distracted by anybody else in the room. And outsiders would probably get freaked out, right? Whereas the royal family knows exactly what's going on. It's been passed down for generations in their family, this transfer of power. So they don't get freaked out, and they just stand there quietly whilst they all get eaten. So yeah. And God, Rod Reese, I so dislike Rod Reese so very much. Because he gaslit her. He gaslit Historia throughout most of this episode. Throughout most of it. He was like, oh, this may sound strange, but Frida's not entirely dead. No, this girl that you cared about and that helped raise you, that you have strong feelings for, no, she's not dead. She's just trapped within Eren. And we've got to get the power back. Her memories live on. It's like, really? Okay. And then he says, would you like to meet your sister? And of course she's like, yeah, I would love to. And he's like, well, have I got the solution for you? So here's the thing. He pulls out the briefcase with the thing, right? Grisha is a doctor, right? Grisha had the same briefcase, okay? And obviously you can assume that most of the doctors have probably the same looking briefcase. But Grisha had the serum as well. So I wanted to pay closer attention to the idea of this. There's a black case, and inside there is a needle, syringe, and there is like the plasma. And we've established that the serum has something to do with the spinal fluid, right? The question is, spinal fluid from what? Is it a specific titan that it comes from? Or is it just, and Eren immediately knows what that is. He's like, oh shit, I know exactly what that case is. And Eren puts 2 and 2 together. He's like, oh shit, they're going to turn Historia into a titan and have her eat me. And then it flashes back to Grisha. And Grisha says, you'll be the one to avenge your mother. And while he's crying. So, to avenge Carla. Right? So, we'll put this up here, avenging Carla as motivation. Now, here's the question. The question is, because we've got a lot of parallels between Eren and Historia here, the question is, it was Grisha gaslighting Eren the same way that Rod's gaslighting Historia? Because Grisha's crying, he's obviously distraught about having this power and everything, but was he gaslighting Eren? We don't know for sure, because we don't know all about Grisha. We don't know his motivations or why he was down in the chapel to begin with. Obviously, he was there to get the power, but what motivated him to do this, right? What's the reasoning behind it all? And it is not lost on me that the parallels, it fades straight from Grisha holding Eren and forcing him to get injected to Rod with Historia. And here's the thing. I was half expecting at some point for Rod to just force the injection. I was expecting it. Because Grisha forced the injection on Eren. He made Eren take the power. And Rod is basically coaxing her into it, but he never forces her to take the injection, ever. And so I wonder if that has something to do with it, if you can't force them. I don't know, but he doesn't force her. He gives it to her and he guides her hand. He's basically nudging her along, but he doesn't just outright stab her with the needle like Grisha does with Eren. And for the record, just so you all are aware, I am not phobic of many things, but I am horrifically phobic of needles. So this whole episode, I was like, nope, not having it at all. And so, yeah, that was a fun time. But yeah, but that look, it's the look of two parents who believe that their child, the parallels between Eren and Historia, it is two parents who believe that their child is the salvation of not only themselves, but humanity. Again, this whole series, we talk about perspective and who views what as what. And you have this idea of Eren and Historia. And they're both viewed as the salvation of each kind. For Rod, he's like, you're my only chance. And so some of you were talking about this back from episode 3, like, why would he go back? And I've thought about this since the episode, why would he go back to get her? And a lot of you pointed this out. So it sounds to me, based on your comments and based on what we've discussed in prior episodes, that he got this woman pregnant. And what ended up happening was that he didn't want to get rid of the child because he's like, well, if things go south and my whole family dies for some reason in a massive church fire thanks to a guy that can turn into a titan, I need a backup. So, just in case, some plan B, if you will, he decided that he didn't want her, he wanted her to be born and kept under surveillance. So that's why he kept the mom at the farm. And the mom was mad because she didn't do anything about the situation. She just is letting it happen. And I'm sure she kind of knows that something's up. And then when things went south after Wall Maria, that's filled in the blanks since then. Since episodes 4 and 5, we've gotten the blanks filled in. And in the events of episode 6, he hadn't planned on getting Historia until Grisha came in and ate and killed his entire family. And then he was like, oh, Historia is the only blood left besides me of the king. So I need to go get her. And here's the thing. Kenny wanted to kill her too, because Kenny wanted to take the power. This is getting good. This is getting very good. We're going to talk about Kenny later, because he was kind of a double agent, but in the craziest way. So he ended up, when the family died, he was like, okay, now I'm going to go get my daughter. But he couldn't. Kenny was like, you're going to cause Here's the thing. Kenny was trying to weed him out. Kenny was trying to be like, why do you need her? Because at the time, Kenny didn't know that you had to be a royal family. You had to be a Reese, apparently, to get the whole power. You have to be a Reese to get the whole power. And he didn't know that. And so Kenny was suspicious of why Rod Reese wanted to go get her in the first place. Like, why do you care? Why do we need her? Why can't anybody just become the coordinate? What do we need to worry about Historia for? But Rod didn't want to give his hand away. But he didn't want to get rid of her entirely either. So he's like, well, I'll just send her away to the cadets, and if she dies, she dies. It's no skin off my back. But if she doesn't, I've got to fall back if I need to get her in case if we need something. Because at the time, maybe they were looking for Grisha. Maybe they've been looking for Grisha this whole time and they can't find him. But again, that points to Keith, because Keith has known about Grisha and Eren this whole time. Now, does Keith know Grisha's dead? I'm assuming that he does. Does he know that Eren is the coordinate and has ate Grisha? I think he does, but we don't have confirmation of that. For all we know, Keith does not know Grisha's dead. He doesn't know anything about Eren being the coordinate. He just knows Eren is Grisha's son. And so he's like, look, Grisha, your son's a soldier now. He may not necessarily know anything about the Titans, but it's just suspicious that in that flashback that Eren saw, that Grisha focused on Keith. Like, Keith is important to all of this somehow. He's a piece of the puzzle that is out in the box somewhere right now. But yeah, the parallels between Eren and Historia. And Eren is like, shit, he knows exactly what's about to happen. He's like, he is about to turn you into a Titan. Do you want that? Ugh. And Eren kind of goes back and forth in this. Eren at first seems very against Historia becoming a Titan. And then the more Rod Reese kind of gaslights Eren too. Because Eren, we'll talk about Eren's breakdown. That was heartbreaking. But he kind of gaslights Eren too into thinking that, we could have stopped all of this had Grisha not committed his foul sin. And Eren kind of believes him. And we'll talk about this. But at the time, at the beginning of the episode, Eren's like, no, he's going to turn you into a Titan. Don't let him do that. That's bad. So yeah, we cut back. I like the mirror on her gun. That's really cool on the blonde woman's gun. But yeah, we cut back to this whole scene. I thought that this whole scene was going to take up the whole damn episode. I thought most of this episode was going to be the fight against the Kenny squad. Hell no. That was just like a small part of this. It was like a third. But I thought it was going to take up the whole episode, and it didn't. Yay. I mean, I'm glad it got resolved in this episode, because anytime there's fights like this with humans versus humans, I get really nervous. Because I'm like, when it's Titans versus humans, yeah, there's probably going to be humans die, but the humans are probably going to do something against the Titans. With here, it's a free-for-all, and I don't know what's going to happen. And our people, they get some kills. All of our cadets do. Mikasa and Levi, they're just hacking left and right. They're just Ackerman warriors just going at it. But they do the smoke bombs. I like Armin's strategy. Clearly it was Armin's strategy to do the bombs with the gasoline, with the gas in the pouches and the gunpowder, and then to have the smoke kind of make it to where they can't fight directly. It's kind of like evading it. But yeah, it allows Levi to scout around and see there's 35 enemies. That's a lot because there's only like 8 of our guys. There's only like 8 cadets and 35 of these people. And then, oh my gosh. So, and Jean still looks hesitant. Like Jean knows what he's got to do, but Jean does not look willing by any stretch of the imagination. He does not look willing at all in this scene to do what has to be done to help save Eren and Historia. And he doesn't like Eren, so you kind of get why he'd be mad about it. But yeah, Sasha with the arrows and lighting the kegs, and then Jean comes up from behind the one guy, and you could tell Jean's just like, he doesn't want to do it, but he can't hesitate. It's like no regrets. And Armin says that their line of fire and the anchor are faced in the same direction. So that is a major weakness of this ODM adaptive gear, is that they can fire, but the gun and the line are on the same trajectory. So they can't like fire while they can't go one way with their lines while firing another direction. It has to be the same direction. So that's a pretty big drawback, actually. And I'm glad Armin noticed that, because I hadn't even thought about that. The area directly behind them is completely out of their reach. So if you come up from behind, then you'll get them. And the crazy thing about that is basically it's like, if you stab him in the back, you'll kill him, is what it amounts to. And Jean just decapitates him. And the look on that guy's face, the guy just looking at Jean as he gets decapitated, and Jean just like going through with it. And then Connie cuts the other guy, and then the one girl's gonna get Connie, but then Sasha gets him with the arrow. It's like a melee. And then of course, the blonde woman, who seems to be one of the strongest of the group, Mikasa goes after her, and so does Hanji. And Hanji, I thought for a second that Hanji's eye got hit. But it was just blood on her glasses. Her glasses just got hit with blood. You could see her eye behind the glasses lens. I was like, oh no, don't want that. And Armin's sticking behind to shoot more of the flares. Because I'm like, Armin, of course, is the most traumatized about it all. Once they fired off 2 shots, then they have to reload. Yep, that's the thing, too. They got to reload after they fire 2 shots. Those 2 shots can be lethal, but then they have to reload. So, yep. I'm glad Armin did all of this strategy and thinking, and then them being like, who the hell is this girl? And it's like, it's Mikasa Ackerman, dude. You don't even know. But, oh man. Swords, when they manage to get close, swords have the advantage. Yeah, here's the thing. Yeah, guns are good for long range. Swords are good for close range. So yeah, and then Mikasa, she don't even have to use her sword. She can just kick you in the face and it's over. And then that shot of Levi, like with the red glowing, it's kind of like a Titan. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It's kind of like it. But yeah, and then yeah, the blonde woman getting, and yeah, Levi goes right in for the kill, and that's when Kenny comes in, because Kenny apparently likes the blonde woman. I think Kenny likes the blonde woman a lot because he's always with her. So they're either involved partners with benefits, or he just likes her and knows that she's tough and doesn't want her to die. Or he saw that as an opening to get Levi. But man, in this episode, now that you know, or my suspicion is that Kenny is his uncle, there's so many signs now. It's like they have the same eyes. They both have those blue steely eyes. They're kind of the same shape. Seeing the grandfather from the last episode, Levi, his face structure and everything, and the way his hair falls, it kind of looks like the grandpa. It kind of looks like Kenny's grandpa, just a wee bit, which would be Kuchel's grandpa too. But yeah, and the way that Kenny acts, like it cuts straight from Levi's face to Kenny's face. Same eye color, exact same. And I know I should have noted this in episode 2, But Kenny acts like the whole neener, neener, neener and the kaboom and yahoo. Kenny acts like an uncle. I said in episode 2 that he acts like the stereotypical anime dad. No, he acts like the uncle in an anime that's like goofy and just playing games and trolling the nephew or niece. He's an anime uncle. He's stereotypical. It's like so obvious. And now it all makes sense. But yeah, Levi's like, I kept wanting Levi to bring up that Kenny's an Ackerman, but he's not playing that card yet. He's not playing. I have a feeling that by the end of this season or by the end of this series, I don't know how long Kenny's going to live in this, if he's going to live up until where we are in season 4 or not, I don't know. But I feel like at some point, Levi is going to bring up the fact that Kenny's an Ackerman, and he's going to tell him. And I kept wanting him to do it in this episode, or I kept thinking that Mikasa was going to show up and he was going to bring up that Mikasa's an Ackerman, but that would be playing his cards, and I guess he chooses not to do that. But he grabs the pouch of the fuel to use. Oh my gosh, against Kenny. And that whole scene where he just makes the pouch explode and then comes out of the explosion and cuts him. Oh, it's so epic. It's so good. The animation, they can just get that sheen on Levi, and it just, But yeah, it cut his side. So it cut his side. It didn't look deep. I'm assuming he has lots of layers, but it clearly was a cut. It clearly got him. He's like, that really hurt. So, but yeah, they all decide at that moment, that's when they get Hanji to create the opening. Yeah, she said the shots were way off, and that wasn't the point. The point was to hook her and knock her against the tree, or knock her against the column. And it hurts. And you could tell for a second Levi's like, shit, Hanji. And everybody's like, oh no, Hanji. But luckily it wasn't Hanji's head that hit the side, it was the shoulder. Because when I saw that blood splatter, I was like, oh god, she's dead. But no, it was her shoulder that hit. So I'm sure there's broken bones, but I don't think Hanji's dead. But again, they've fallen back. So what we doing? Oh my god. And yeah, of course, they're going to go back. And then Levi, he's like, you're going to mess everything up. And when he said mess everything up, I was like, so does Kenny want everything to go? Does he want his story to become a Titan in Eren? But that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case. It was so much better than that. So yeah, they do the net. They drop the net so that they can't get through easily. I mean, they could eventually probably get through that. And then guard the ritual. And he's like, yeah, that's where I'll be. Of course. Guard the ritual, that's where I'll be. So here's the thing. The intermission card is what I'm looking at now. And it says, a device Rod Reese wants Historia Reese to use and transform into a Titan. It is believed to use spinal fluid. And by injecting the transformation serum, one is granted the inherent abilities of a Titan. So, I think that just answered my question. I've been wondering which came first, the chicken or the egg. I think that the Titan shifters came first, and then from the Titan shifters came the serum to create the pure Titans. Yeah. So either the Titan serum is from a Titan shifter, or it's from. But here's the thing. Why would you? Okay. Well, again, we're going to talk about the old king and the original king. We're going to talk about this. But I think the Titan shifters came first. The founding Titan, the coordinate, and the Titan shifters came first. I think the coordinate, the founding Titan, if the founding Titan is not the original one, it's the founder of all of these other Titans. The founding Titan of the Wall Kingdom may not be the original Titan, but it's the one that I think created the Titan shifters and then fostered the creation of the serum to turn people into the pure Titans so that they gain the abilities. They don't gain, it's all instinctual, right? It's just transforming them on like a raw surface level. They don't gain the intelligence to speak. They don't, well, but then the one that from Ilse's notebook could eventually speak, but they don't have the ability to turn back into a human, basically, is what it's amounting to. They just turn into a Titan. The inherent abilities of a Titan. They can still talk, still can do other things, but they can't turn back into a human. So yeah, the enemy is nearby. Let's hurry, Historia. Oh my gosh. And at this point, Historia's like, okay. And Eren's like, stop. And And she says, why? And I got really frustrated at Historia first. Historia, girl, these characters are crazy, right? Girl has a crazy range in this episode because at first she's like, why are you glaring? And I'm like, I was like, does Historia not get what's about to happen? And I don't think she fully comprehended it. And then he's like, it's because he's perceived his fate. And so Rod's assuming that the stolen power will return to where it belongs. So, and then we get this whole thing, that means inside of you. And again, the parallels with Eren. Her eyes are that like translucent big eye color. She has the same expression that like Eren gets too. So there's parallels, right? Parallels. Uh-huh. And then he says this cavern was built around 100 years ago by the power of a certain titan. Okay, here we go. We're getting into this. Finally. And those 3 walls were built by this. Okay, they're built by the same power. The power by a certain titan. So it could be that the walls and chapel were built by the same titan or titans or the same power of the titan. So it's not confirmed, but I still think the founding titan built the walls and the chapel or manipulated the other titans into doing so. Right? I think that's the case. By creating these enormous walls, humanity was protected. From what? From what? So the idea of humanity being protected. But here's the thing. From what? It's like, there's all these little half-truths and lies built into everything that he says to her that she finally realizes it, I think, in the end. But at the time, it's like, humanity was protected. But it's like, from what? If the original Titan founded the walls and created them and everything and gave power to the Ackermans and the others, what were they protecting from? What? Is it suggesting that the founding Titans stole the original power themselves and then hid behind the wall so that the other Titans couldn't get it back? Is the original Titan, is the founding Titan a thief? Is it a fake king from the start, right? So, is it a fake king from the start? Did the founding Titan steal this power that they weren't supposed to steal and then was like, I'll just create this kingdom to play God. And I'll just make these walls and then nobody can get in to harm us, right? So my theory at the moment is that the founding Titan could have very well stolen this power they weren't originally supposed to have. They got this power and were like, oh, I'm immortal and can do whatever I want. And so they made themselves king and made themselves a little kingdom. That's what it sounds like. And then the power of that Titan reached out to touch people's hearts and alter their memories. Aww. He makes it, when he says touch people's hearts, it's like, oh, you make it sound so sweet. But no, I don't think so. I think that they made their own kingdom and just brainwashed the people to go along with it and not know any different. Because he could. And then made the chapels so that they could just pass on the power over and over again. However, several bloodlines were excluded from that. But their descendants and the rest of humanity have retained no history of the past a century ago. History of the world past a century ago. So, other question being, and Eren looks so full of contempt in that moment. So, why were the bloodlines excluded? Why were certain bloodlines excluded? And why can only the founder remember past 100 years? So I guess they made that a caveat, being like, I'll be the only one that can retain memory from before I brainwashed y'all, so that I know what happened and I know why we got here, but the rest of you won't. So that makes sense. Okay. All right. Except for one, Frida Reese. And she had the power of the coordinate, and so that's why she knew. Frida possessed more than her power as a Titan. She knew how this world came about and all the details behind it. She knows all the secrets. That's why Pastor Nick and them were so concerned about Historia, because they're like, if she gets the coordinate powers, she could have all the secrets of the wall inside of her. Yes, she could. That all makes sense now. Yeah, that's why they were assuming this was going to happen, that he was going to take her and give her the power of the coordinate, and then she'd know the secret of the world. So like, you need to keep a hold of her because she's important. She was 15 years old when that knowledge became hers. So she was the same age as Historia, basically. Right here, 8 years ago. So she would have been 23, right? In this very place after she ate her uncle, my younger brother. And it shows her making the decision that Historia makes. She turned herself into a Titan. And she ate the uncle. But here's the question. That was 8 years ago. I'm slowly realizing, wait a minute. So 8 years ago. Okay, so 5 years ago was Wall Maria falling. But then 8 years ago, Frida became the coordinate. That seems significant. That seems important somehow, right? So 8 years ago, Eren would have been 7 maybe. So yeah, 3 years prior to Wall Maria. So he would have been 7. Why? We don't know exactly. I don't think that that's around the time that they went and got Mikasa. I think that, or was it this around the same time as they got Mikasa? When did they get Mikasa? Was Mikasa like a year ago? A year prior? Not a year ago, but a year prior? When did they get Mikasa? When did Mikasa go with Eren? We don't know that. I don't remember that. You'll probably comment down below and be like, it was a year before Wall Maria or something like that. But it's significant that 8 years ago, Frida ate the uncle. And here's the thing, the uncle, here's why I question. Here's why I question this whole thing with the uncle and her eating them and them having this place to if you were, I guess, in human nature, fight or flight syndrome, your reaction would be to run away. Your natural human reaction would be to run away. But here's the thing. If you've been believed this entire time, if your family knows that this is something that happens generation to generation and you were expecting it, then you'd probably be okay with it, right? I don't know. It just feels like, did the uncle want to be eaten in that time? And why was he eaten? Why did Frida become the coordinate? Why? Why now? Why 8 years ago? The uncle doesn't look terribly old. He was around the same age as Rod, so why did she have to eat him 8 years ago? What was significant about that? There's an important thing in the timeline 8 years ago that we don't know about. There's a reason why she ate her uncle. Was it Yuri? Yuri. That we aren't privy to. Something's going on. Okay. But she became a Titan. And she looked kind of female, so it's interesting. And then, it shows Rod and him and all of them. And then when she came out, and I was like too focused on the imagery. And then it said Frida inherited the founding Titan and the memories of this world. And okay, now you look at the brother, Ulklin, who's named after Yuri, Ulklin. He kind of looks like the brother too, so you can see that. As had been done for 100 years, repeated and passed through generations. Okay. Yeah. But why? Why did he have to die then? If Frida had just used her power, there wouldn't have been any problems. And this is the point where I was like, wait, but what? If she had used her powers, there wouldn't have been any problems. But she didn't. But she didn't that day. She didn't stop the Colossal Titan or the Armored Titan at all. No, that's not what happened. No, that's not what happened. Then there wouldn't have been any problems. We might have eliminated Titans from this world entirely. But you wouldn't have. No. If only his father hadn't stolen the power from her. Like, that's such gaslighting. That's such blaming Grisha for everything. Because it's like, wait. And maybe that's what Grisha was trying to tell them. It's like, why won't you do anything? Why won't you stop them from destroying everything? Maybe that's what the whole situation was. He's like... So that's bringing up... I wrote too big. Surprising no one. But that's bringing up a thing. Did the royal family know this was going to happen? Did they know the breach was going to happen? That the breach was nigh. Could put breach was nigh. Can't read my own writing. But yeah, did they know? So yeah, when Grisha came that night, was Grisha trying to argue and say, hey, these Titans are going to break in and destroy Wall Maria and possibly Wall Rose. We need to do something. You have the power of the coordinate. Shouldn't you do something? And they didn't do it. And maybe they told him they weren't going to do it. Maybe that was it. And then Grisha got pissed and was like, well, if you're not going to change the world, then I am. Maybe. But the moment when he said that Frida could have done something, I'm like, but she didn't do anything. She didn't stop you guys holed up in your chapel while all this was going down and people were dying and you didn't do anything. Why didn't she? If she's got the power to erase people's memories and control people, why didn't she go and stop the Titans right then and there? Something's amiss. Something's missing from the story, right? And now that power resides within Eren. And here's the thing, that power, it can't truly manifest unless the blood of the Reese family runs through them. Okay. It can't truly manifest unless the blood of the Reese family runs through them. So, but again, Frida has the blood of the Reese family, so she could have done something. They didn't do anything. So there's something up with all this. So he's suggesting that Eren can't truly manifest the coordinate power unless the blood of the Reese family runs through them. But would Grisha have known that? Wouldn't Grisha have known that? Is Carla related to the Reese family? Is she? Is Carla related to the Reeses somehow? Is she? I don't know. Or is Keith or Grisha, I mean? I'm looking at Keith. Because I don't know. There's that flashback from episode 1 and there was like a royal family baby crib and stuff. I'm like, oh, is Eren related to the Reeses somehow? That would ruin my Eren and Historia ship. But I don't know. But he's suggesting that the power isn't going to be at its full potential unless someone with the Reese blood owns it. As long as he remains a vessel for that power, then this hell will continue forever. And that's what gets Eren, is that he's like, because Eren is not the chosen one. This is great. Yeah, Eren's not the chosen one at the moment. He's not the chosen one. He's the one that Grisha changed fate. Grisha made him the chosen one, but he wasn't originally supposed to be that way. So Rod is suggesting that because Eren's not the chosen one to get the power is incomplete. And they're never going to be able to stop the Titans unless it goes to somebody in the Reese family. But here's the thing. Eren has stopped Titans. He has used the coordinates powers, right? So, are you sure about that, Rod? Are you sure, or are you just lying to make Historia want to go through with it? I don't know. But that's when, and Historia's like, and that's when Kenny comes in. Because this just ruined Kenny's wish. This whole episode's called Wish. And it's the wishes of all these characters. It's the wish of Historia, the wish of Rod, the wish of Eren, the wish of Kenny. Kenny pops in. And he's like, so unless it's a Reese who eats Eren, they can't become a true king. And he's like, that is correct. He's like, so then even if I turn into a Titan and Eren, it'll mean nothing? Oh, so Kenny was wanting to... I've got to turn this over. You all shouldn't be surprised. Okay, so it all kind of makes sense now what Kenny was wanting to do. I was like, what's Kenny's plan in all this? It sounds like Kenny's plan was to turn into a Titan. He was going to probably try to steal the serum or turn into a Titan at some point, eat Eren, become the coordinate, and then the question is, did Kenny want to eliminate the Titans? Or rather, I think what he wanted to happen was that he wanted to get rid of he wanted to make the government, everybody forget about the Ackermans being persecuted so that he could go off and live his life and have Levi with him and not be like hunted down like dogs like they've been their entire lives. But then he says something later that kind of contradicts that. So I'm still curious to know what Kenny's end game was. I think that Kenny did want to turn into a Titan and eat Eren and become the coordinate so that he could control everything and become king. But to what end, I don't know. I don't know if he's a friend of humanity or a friend of Titan. I don't know. Then Rod's plan was pretty simple. He wanted to just turn Historia into a Titan, eat Eren, and maintain the status quo. We'll talk about that. And we'll talk about Eren and Historia too. But yeah. So yeah, Kenny's like, so if I turn into Titan, nothing's gonna happen? He's like, ugh. And then Rod's like, wait, what? And then, yeah, putting the gun to his head. He's like, do you think I'm lying to you? He's like, no, I don't think you are. He's like, I've waited for this day because I knew you weren't lying about the succession ritual. So Kenny has been biding his time, waiting until Rod performed this ritual so that he could find out the details and then swoop in at the last moment and take the opportunity for himself. Very interesting. All right. Yeah, for crying out loud. You used me this whole time knowing full well what I was after, you sleazy playboy. Oh, see, Rod is such like a slimy character. Yeah, he is sleazy. Because, yeah, he used Kenny. He knew Kenny was probably after his power, but he's like, it won't matter. You're not going to have the full power anyway because you don't have the blood of the Reese family. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he just used you for your skills. Uh-huh. He's like, I'm grateful for you. You may have been a stray dog that my whimsical brother took in. Okay, here's the line. You may have been a stray dog that my whimsical younger brother took in. The younger brother. And he says, you keep insulting Yuri and you can say goodbye to half of your head. So this is the thing too. This is why I said I'd write smaller. I'm a liar. Never mind. So 8 years ago, Yuri, who was the coordinate, died. And Yuri took in Kenny. So that's interesting. Yuri is the younger brother. So Rod's the older brother. Yuri is the younger brother. And Yuri's the one that ended up becoming the coordinate. Okay. So, and Kenny clearly respects Yuri and because he took him in. But I'm so curious. If Yuri knew that Kenny was an Ackerman, why did he take him in? Why did he take him in? Because they were persecuted. So why would you take it? Why would a royal family member take in somebody that was persecuted by the royal family? That doesn't make any sense unless Rod and them don't know that Kenny's an Ackerman. Unless they don't know that Kenny's an Ackerman and Kenny was just like, oh, okay, well, I've been taking... But then Kenny found his grandpa. And so there's this interesting dynamic here with the Ackermans and the royal family, right? So there's this interesting dynamic with the Ackermans and the royal family, this back and forth, that the royal family is afraid of the Ackermans, so they persecute them, but then an Ackerman's taken in by the royal family, but then when he gets older, he discovers about the royal family, and then he goes to work for the royal family, so it's like, it's this big back and forth. I'm so curious. I want to know more about Yuri. I want to know more about him. I love it. And then, yeah, Historia, good girl grabbing the gun, and she tries to say, let my father go, and then Kenny's like, you are pitiful. He's like, don't you get what he's trying to do to you? You don't get it, do you? He's going to make you a Titan. He's going to turn you into a monster and make you eat Eren. Yeah. Don't you get it? And this is the line that got me when Historia was like, because that's my duty. And he's like, huh? And she's like, I'm going to eat Eren and bring my sister back, which you're not going to bring her back. You're just going to get her memories. And inherit the world's history and exterminate every last Titan. Yeah, that's my duty. And this is what gets Eren. So this is, I kept saying earlier in the reaction, in the discussion, that it was Rod Reese's words that got to Eren. Nah, it was this moment. Because again, the parallels between Eren and Historia, those parallels are so crazy. And in this moment, Eren and Historia both have a sense of wanting to eliminate the Titans. Which it's like, Historia, did you forget about Ymir? And she remembers Ymir at the end. Thank God. Because at the time I was like, you're going to eliminate all the Titans? Really? Including Ymir? I mean, I get Reiner Bertold. I get why you guys would want to eliminate them, clearly. But Ymir too? Okay. And that's what gets Eren. Because Eren's whole deal from the start has been to eliminate the Titans. And in this moment, Eren realizes, oh my God, yeah, I can't ever realize my full potential in this role as the coordinate I'm not a Reese member. But if Historia eats me, then yeah, she could stop the Titans. She could save the world. And I give Eren so many props in this moment because, or later on when he gives a speech too, because he's like, it's the idea of Eren being selfless in that moment, and Eren thinking, nah, my father killed your family and took this power. I didn't even want this. I never wanted this. Eren's like, I never wanted to become a Titan. I didn't want this at all. It was forced on me. You want this because you want to change the world, and you probably can. So yeah, if I've got to die so that you can stop the Titans and fulfill my mission to avenge my mother and all of humanity, do it. Like, that's insane. That's so crazy. But we're not there yet. Yeah, but that moment, Eren has that resolve. And I swear, Eren and Historia's eyes are so similar in this episode. And then Kenny's like, have you forgotten everything this guy's done to you? The only thing he cares about is the blood inside of you. And him prying his mouth open with the same knife that he killed his, like, mistress and Historia's mom with. Oh. And he's just rattling the teeth. He doesn't want to become a Titan himself. He's just trash that forces his brother and daughter to. Because, yeah, he was the older brother. Why didn't he want to become a Titan? Huh? Why didn't he? That's this father of yours. And I'll give Rod this. He grabbed the blade and said he's wrong. I must not become a Titan myself. Do not believe what anyone else says. Well, then he does at the end, so why? Why can't he become a Titan? I guess we're going to find out next episode why he can't become a Titan. I guess we're going to find out next episode why he himself cannot become a Titan. I guess we're going to figure that out. Interesting. Yeah, but I'm like, why can't you? And Kenny's like, oh, is that right? Huh, okay. And he says, Kenny, you've served well up until now. You're free to go. And that line, he says, go find another purpose in life and live out your years. Like, in the shadows, like, in quiet. Like, go ahead. And Kenny just looks, and again, he looks so much like Levi in that moment, him looking down at him. That would bore me to death. Yeah, oh, Kenny's like, oh, you want me to just live out my life in this birdcage of yours and let you guys just carry on the status quo? Nah, I'm not here for that. Kenny's an agent of chaos. He ain't doing this. And then he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, go ahead and turn into a Titan. He's like, I'm not going to interfere anymore. Fine. But then, yeah, he takes off the muzzle. Thank goodness. He's like, no head start. Yeah, and that saliva that comes out Eren's mouth, like he's been just choking on his own drool the whole time. Ugh. He's like, you both become Titans and have at it. Fine. If Historia wins, you'll have your peace. But if you lose to Eren, the situation stays the same. Oh. And then he just cuts his forehead. And of course, whenever you cut your forehead, it just bleeds a lot. Ugh. That visual of Eren with the blood all over his face. He's like, keep drawing breath and run until I die. How do you even call that living? Ugh. I may love Kenny. I may love Kenny a lot. Yeah. I don't like that he cut Eren's forehead. I'm like, you couldn't have just like nicked him on the cheek or something. But nah. He wanted it big enough where it could trigger it. So yeah, Kenny obviously knows. And then that stomping up to them. With injection, you can become a powerful Titan. And you can eat him. But in fact, it's more than that. You must bite his spine and consume the spinal fluid. So there's a caveat to this. You can't just eat him. You've got to specifically have the spinal fluid, which is dealing with the nape. So, okay. I'm guessing that, I mean, that's, if you think about it, I'm not good with anatomy and physiology. It's been a long time since I've had anatomy. I guess that's the connecting up to the brain, right? Where all the memories and all the knowledge would be stored at. So you have to bite the spinal cord for it to work. It's literal spinal tap. You gotta do it. Okay. So yeah, his desperation in that moment, because like, shit, Eren could get out and do this. He's like, you have to do it. And then Kenny's like, well, I did my chaotic duties for the day. I'm going to step back and let this all sort itself out. And it's so crazy how much Historia looks like her sister in that moment where she's about to do it. And then she stops though, because Rod rushes her in the moment, but then she's like, why aren't you transforming? Like, what's going on? It's like, if I become a Titan, you'll get eaten. Like, do at this rate. And that look on his face, Eren's like, it shouldn't have happened. I shouldn't have been turned into a Titan. He's like, my dad. He's like, if 5 years ago he hadn't done that here, then your sister would have been able to do something, wouldn't she have? But that's the thing, she didn't do anything. He's like, my dad stole the power of the Titans from its rightful place. But your dad could become a Titan shifter in the first place. So how? There's something missing from the story. There's something missing from the story. But that look on Eren's face, it's so pitiful. It's so pitiful, that look on his face. Like his just dejected face. Like he's just like, my dad stole the power. I don't know why, but he stole it. Like your sister could have done something, couldn't she have? Like how many died because of my dad's actions? Armin's grandfather died. Thomas Nack. And the fact that Eren remembers all of them, Thomas Nack, Mina, and Milius, I didn't even remember all of them. So the fact that he did, it's like, ugh. And then with the way he says Marco is like, ugh. And it goes back to distress. That shot was from distress. That shot of Marco being like, I wonder what kind of soldiers we'll become. It's like, shut up, Marco. Marco exists just to remind us of pain. Like, ugh. And yeah, the people of Stohess, when him and Annie fought, and then the guys in the Levi squad, the soldiers who came to save him, Hannes. He's like, I can never atone for it all. It shouldn't have happened. Those days of training, the dreams beyond the walls. Ugh. He said, I shouldn't have happened. And he looks so tiny there, like the animation makes him look really small, but he looks so tiny. Like it's just like Eren's given up on everything. He's like, my dreams, all that, it shouldn't have never existed to begin with. Like which is, but at the same time, Eren, you had those dreams before your dad injected you, so it's not like those shouldn't have happened. We don't know the full context, that's the thing. But again, the hilarious part about all of this, tying back, is that Eren's emotions that he's having right now are the exact same as Reiner and Bertolt and Annie's. They're the exact same. It's the big circle of life. His feelings of regret and despair, he's like, all these people died because of me. I shouldn't have existed and happened. But here's the thing. Eren's not come to terms with that. He believes, he's like, it's over. Just kill me now. I don't deserve to live. Annie and Reiner Bertolt have all had that exact same realization. They're like, all these people have died because of us. We don't deserve to live. But we're going to keep living and doing something. So they have the mission driving them. Eren doesn't have a mission at this point. It's like his whole world's been shattered. And he's like, and all he's seeing is what his father's done. All he's seeing is what Grisha's done. We don't know the full context, though. Right? He just sees that his father's done something horrible. He should not have become a Titan to begin with, but he did. And now it's caused all of these deaths. And the only way, he's like, I can't atone for any of their deaths. So the only thing we can do now is to let you eat me, Historia. And you can, since you're a Reese, you can solve all the problems. And that'll make up for all of my sins. And Historia's like, oh my God, when'd you get this pathetic? What is this? And she sees her mom in that moment. That hopelessness and despair that her mother had. Her mom was like, just what's the point of living? Right? And she sees that. And I love the way they animated her. Like she almost looks like she's about to cry and like her lips like she has that like fumbling lip. And Eren's like, let it end at your hand. Oh my God, Eren. Eat me and save humanity. And she's like, fuck humanity by the end of it. But yeah, he's like, it's all up to you. And she's like, why does it have to all be up to me? And Kenny's like, well, crap, this kid's just done. And she's like, but Eren, she says, that time when you called me a normal person, I was so happy. Because she was normal, right? And then, yeah, she's about to do it. But then, so yeah, Eren's whole thing is Eren wants to let Historia eat him, save humanity, and stop the Titans. Which, again, stopping the Titans, Frida could have done that to begin with, but she didn't. So there's something else that we don't know about the story. So yeah, everybody just wants to eat Eren. But then Ymir comes in like a beautiful dark angel. And she says, so you're trying to do something nice, huh? And that cuts back to her helping Sasha, and that's what makes her hesitate. I love it. And that look on her face where she's just like, oh, I'm going to save that because that shot is so good. I love that image. I want to save it. It's such a good shot of her with that realization. But yeah, because Ymir and Rod's like, what's wrong? Are you scared? Why aren't you doing it, Historia? All you have to do is inject the liquid into your body and turn yourself into a monster and eat your friend. Like, that's all you gotta do. But no. She's like, why? And at that moment, why are you trying to do something nice and self-serving? Yeah, it's like you're not trying to help her. You're just trying to make yourself feel better. That's what Ymir was saying. She's like, you're not being genuine. You're being fake, right? And it's Ymir's words that make her realize in that moment that something's not right with this whole funny-dunny story that her dad's been telling her. She's like, why didn't the Reese family in that whole 100 years eliminate the Titans and liberate humanity? Why not? All while possessing the power to control all the Titans. Why didn't you? And he looks like he's like, oh, well, the first Reese king who built the world within the walls, he wished for us to be controlled by the Titans. And she's like, huh? And Eren's like, wait, what? The first king believed that was the only path to true peace. So, and then we get the shot of Rod's eyes looking so grim. So the first king, it's over on the other side, but the first king, old Reese the First, we'll just call him that, wanted the Titans to control them. So why would that be? You could argue that it could go back to Erwin's whole thing about how humanity is never going to stop fighting each other unless there's no humans left. I guess you could argue that if there were Titans around, then... Well, no, that's what Rod and them have distorted it to. Why did the original King Reese want to be controlled by Titans? Why did he want humanity to be controlled by Titans? Why? We're going to get to that here in a second. But I do not know why. Bullshit, you don't. Yeah, no. I think that it's going to come out here in a second. It's only known by those who see the world's memories. So what he's suggesting is that the coordinate, the memories are passed down from coordinate to coordinate, and whatever the secret behind it all is, only the coordinate knows. It's one of those things like once you see it, you can't go back. You know what's going on. You're like, oh, this is the truth of the world. Now I see. This is why things are the way that they are. And so he says, long ago, I, along with my brother, pleaded with our father to free humanity from the Titans. But his father was the coordinate then too, right? Because he has the eyes. He would not fulfill our wish. So, and then it looks like it's him up on the altar. And eventually it came time for my father to pass on that role. Oh, and so the brother was trying to convince Rod to do it. And Rod wouldn't do it. He gave it to his brother instead. So did he chicken out? Did he chicken out? Because it looks like he chickened out. So, because in the image, Uri is trying to give the power to Rod, and Rod says no. And Uri takes it instead. He says, when my brother inherited the power of the Titans and I looked into his eyes, he's like, that's when, to create this world, to govern its very foundation, he's like, to be an omnipotent being is what my brother became. Yeah. Do you know what we call that? We call that God. Yeah. So... And my duty is to bring God back to our world and offer them my prayers. So yeah, so the whole idea is that King Reese the One, original King Reese, he created this kingdom. He created the walls surrounding it and alter the people's memories so they forget everything that had happened to them in the past before the walls were created. And then he wanted to play God. He was like, I want to be God of this world and just control you, basically. I'll rule this world and make it however I see fit, and y'all will just do whatever I want to. And we'll just keep the status quo, and I'll pass on this power to my children and their children. And I'm assuming that, I mean, yeah, how tempting would it be for anyone to gain that power and then realize you could literally be like a god and have this omnipotent power and make the world believe you and make the world you've created believe you and do whatever you wanted. That's so tempting. That's such a tempting power, right? That's insane. And so of course, as soon as that power transferred and they started to see all the memories of the past kings and everything and saw this status quo kept in place, why would they want to change it? Why would you tempt fate? Why would you want to bring in the outside world when you can just be the ruler of your own little universe and control it like a god? Yeah, it all makes sense. And then, but the question is, why didn't Rod want to become God? Why didn't he want to become the Titan? Was there has to be a caveat. There has to be a caveat, right? Because they all get eaten. There has to be a caveat. Maybe he didn't want to get eaten. Maybe he was too scared of what would happen. But there has to be a caveat, right? There's something else to it that we don't know yet. There's something else we don't know about the story. But he's like, my duty is to bring God back to our world and offer them my prayers. Okay. And I'm praying, Historia, for God to lead and guide humanity. Yeah. And then she ties back to Ymir with the knife. And she's like, Krista, I have no right to tell you how to live your life. Again, Ymir told her she's like, I can't tell you how to live your life. You just need to live a life you're proud of. So actually, this is nothing more than a hope of mine. Yeah, it's not a prayer. It's just a hope. She's like, I want you to live a life that you're proud of. And I love the music kicks in. The music swells and it kicks in and Historia's like, wait a second. And just breaks the serum. Oh, and it's like purple, which is interesting. It's not red, it's like purple, so maybe it is like spinal fluid, or I thought spinal fluid was like clear, but it's got a purple tinge to it. But yeah, and in that moment, Rod freaks out. And I find it so fitting that he has the blood around his mouth from the knife, but he looks like a Titan that's eaten someone. It's such a good visual symbolism there. But him freaking out and him grabbing Historia, and he looks like a monster. And she's like, screw you! And then Chuck's like suplexes him. Like, hell yeah, onto the ice. Onto the Titan skin. And I love this. God, my ass. You're just giving yourself an out and manipulating other people. I was like, hell yeah. Screw Manifest Destiny. Breaker of chains. Queen Historia. She's like, you're just manipulating people. You're not trying to save humanity. She's like, I've had it. She's like, I won't let you kill me. No, because she's like, yeah, because that's controlling her life. She's like, what you're doing is you're essentially sentencing me to my death. She's like, what's going to happen is I'm going to eat Eren, and then eventually someone's going to eat me. Because that's just, she's like, it goes back to Sonis's words. It goes back to Sonis's words about there always needing to be a certain player in the system. She's like, she's literally the Lonely Island taking the cake and saying, I threw it on the ground. I need to do an edit of that with the syringe. With that just being like, I threw it on the ground. I'm an adult. I'm not going to be part of your system. Yeah, that was Historia. Oh my God. And her going up there and Kenny laughing and being like, hell yes, that's the spirit. Now this is getting good. Like, screw the system. Why are you going along with it? And Eren's still in like shock and disbelief and like, he's like, what are you doing, Historia? And she's like, we're getting out of here. And I love that he's like, stop. He's like, if I go on living, everyone will keep suffering. And he's like, hurry up and eat me. And I love that she punches him. She's like, I can't take living like this. And she's like, shut up, you crybaby. I love it. And he's like, what? I love that she says, shut up, you crybaby. This might be the thumbnail. I don't know. This was the last shot with Rod. But she's like, exterminate the Titans. Who the hell wants to do that bullshit? Oh my God. I'm starting to hate humanity. Oh, let him get wiped out by the Titans. I thought Eren would be an antagonist by the end of this, but it might be Historia. But here's the thing. I've been playing devil's advocate for the Titans. I'm kind of on board with all this, where she's like, screw the status quo. She's like, you want me to kill Ymir? Hell no. I like the Historia's like, we don't know the full story. We need to find, I hope next episode that she's like, we need to find out what's going on and why this is happening, because there's something not being told. And I just love that Eren's like, just eat me. And she's like, shut up, crybaby. And I love that she's getting him out of his funk. I may still Ymir and Historia are an OTP, but BFF train Eren and Historia for life. I'm like, I want this duo. I want it so bad. She's like, I'm humanity's biggest enemy. I'm the worst girl who ever lived. Oh, I love it. I love this. Oh my God. So that does bring up problems. We'll talk about that at the end of the episode. But yeah, breaker of chains. She's like, you escape from here. I'll destroy everything else. So here's the thing. The whole thing with the serum. The whole thing with the serum. You were supposed to inject it, but he licks it, and it still turns him into a Titan. Is this going to be like Nightmare Fuel, y'all? Is this going to be Nightmare Fuel Titan Part 3? We had Part 1 with Eren. We had Part 2 with Bertolt on the wall. Is this going to be Nightmare Fuel Titan Part 3, where Rod, because he didn't inject it, because he was like subcutaneously, like, was just licking it, it doesn't work right? Is that what's going to happen? Because he's like, Yuri, Father, and Frida, wait for me. Oh my God. And yeah, that does it. Ew, but it doesn't look right. He looks almost like a snake from that. Nope, that doesn't look right. Nope. Oh my God. This episode was amazing. Oh, I love this so much. Okay. So there's not room on my board. So, okay. Here's the thing, though. Sorry. Okay. So we have the Reese family, who has basically been trying to serve as a god or a king for the past 100 years, maintaining the status quo of their little wall kingdom with their 3 little walls on all different sides. And they've been doing so by having the power of the coordinate and the Titan. So I'm wondering now if the 3 girls in the ED of season 2 were the original, if maybe the original King Reese, had the 3 daughters at the very beginning of all this, had the 3 daughters, and but he gave it seemed like all of them got powers in the ED. So maybe there were multiple Titans at the time, not just the founding Titan, but it seemed like, I'm wondering if the 3 daughters, if either one of them was a Reese, or if they all were Reeses and they all gained the power from the beginning. Maybe that's it. I don't know. We don't know. According to Rod Reese, the coordinate or the founding Titan created the walls, created the chapel, and had the power to control everybody. They're the most powerful Titan of all that we know of. And Eren has that power right now. So then we have Grisha Yeager in all of this. Somehow Grisha knew how to get to the special secret chapel where the ritual took place that supposedly nobody's allowed to go to or know anything about, but Grisha Yeager knew about it somehow. Grisha also had access to the serum that turns people into Titans that's supposedly secret somehow, and was able to gain the power of the coordinate and then give the power to Eren. And Eren is supposedly, according to Rod Reese, incomplete because he's not related to a Reese. I question that. I question that, one, because wouldn't Grisha know that? And if so, Grisha seemed like a smart person, so he had to have had a plan for a reason. But also, we don't know anything about Carla, so I'm not cutting her out of this yet. And then my question is, how did Grisha even get the Titan powers? Because Eren, I think Eren's forgetting that Grisha, because he's like, my father gained the power of the Titans. And I'm like, yeah, but your dad was also a Titan shifter too. So he got those powers from somewhere else, or was given them. So, or they were passed down to him. So there's something else that's not being told in the story. How did he get the Titan powers? What was Grisha's goal? Why did he go there in the first place to the chapel? Obviously, my thought would be he went to go tell Rodriguez to do something about the Titans or to stop them, and Rodriguez was like, no, we're going to keep the peace and status quo, and then Grisha got mad and took it. But there has to be more to it than that. It's got to be more complicated. And then that damn basement that we'll eventually get to, the basement key. The basement key is like golden and has like a little, it looks like a Kingdom Hearts keyblade, and it just looks royal. It looks regal the more you think about it. So I'm like, is Eren not related to the Reeses? Is Carla related to the Reeses somehow? Is Grisha related to the Reeses? We don't know. We don't know. But Grisha's tied into this somehow. And I think that Grisha is the key. He's tied to the royal family somehow. And I also think that he's tied to the other Titan shifters that are outside the wall. So that would include the Beast Titan. That would include the Colossal Titan. And I can't spell colossal because my brain is mush. And that would include the female Titan and the Armored Titan. And whatever the hell Marcel was. I'm just going to keep calling it the Marcel Titan because we don't know what Marcel was. So, it keeps tying to all of those, right? I find it curious that the coordinate doesn't really change its appearance. Well, Eren's Titan when he attacked Grisha was like a younger version, but then he grew up and then became a Titan. So maybe your Titan forms change as you grow older. Interesting. But yeah, Grisha's connected to the Titan shifters somehow because the Beast Titan at the very end of season 2 when he was like, not yet, huh? So the Beast Titan is aware that something's going down, right? So I have no doubt that Grisha has ties on both ends. We just don't know to what extent or why. There's parts missing from the story. So there's that. But then you also have the Ackermans and the Eastern clan that dissented from the king, that they dissented, but they're called warriors. But here's the thing. They're called warriors, but then that's what the Titan shifters called themselves. So again, I feel like there's a connection between the Ackermans being called warriors and the Titan shifters being called warriors. We just don't know what it is yet. There's a connection there. And the fact that the Ackermans and the Eastern clans left the king means that they found out something bad and were like, nope, not being a part of this anymore, and peaced out. So I'm wondering if the Ackermans had the power to become Titan shifters, and then over time, as they were hunted down, maybe some other people that were turned into Titans gained those powers and like dissented. I don't know. There's something missing there. So that part is the connection there I can't make. But the fact that the whole Warriors line has got me thinking there's a connection there. I just don't know what it is. And then on top of all this, you have the Survey Corps with Erwin, who's arranged the coup to overthrow everything. But as far as Erwin's plans go, they want Historia to be queen. Well, Rod Reese has kind of sealed his fate because he's going to die. There is no way. Rod's not going to eat Eren. One, that's not going to happen. And two, Rod Reese is going to die. He's going to be, the king is going to be dead. He drank the Kool-Aid. He literally drank the Kool-Aid. He's going to die. So it's kind of leaving Historia in place to become queen and to do something. So here's the funny thing in all of this. Historia could very well do what Erwin wants her to do and become queen, but she's not going to want to destroy the Titans. Not like what Erwin wants. No, I don't think so. I think Historia's going to be like, we need to find out more about the Titans and figure out this whole thing with the wall and what's going on and get to the bottom of this. That's what I think is going to happen. But again, Historia has done like a 180 in this episode alone, so she may change her tune again next episode. I don't know. When her dad dies, she may realize that she made a mistake. I don't know. But I feel like Historia is going to become queen, or is set up to become queen like what Erwin wants, but her goals and Erwin's goals I don't think are going to align. I think she's going to be like, no, we want to find out more about the Titans. We want to go find this basement and find all this stuff. We want to befriend and hear their side of the story. And Erwin's going to be like, no. So it's all up in the air, right? We don't know what the Titans are doing. We don't know what the whole thing with Grisha is. We don't know the whole thing with the Ackermans, if it's related to this. We don't know the Survey Corps, what they're going to do. Like I said, they're going to show up. Or here's the thing. Historia might just peace out with Eren, or maybe Kenny lets him escape. Or I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. Rod Reese is gonna die. I wouldn't be surprised if like Kenny came around like, but Kenny doesn't have ODM gear. So somebody's gonna have to sneak in and save them. Unless Levi and them get in there at the right time and save them. I don't know. But they were cut off by the net. Damn it. Okay. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in the next episode. But there's so many different parties at play in all of this that it's kind of insane. And I'm excited because I'm seeing the picture coming together. But there's still so many pieces missing. Isayama is bringing the puzzle together. He's like, okay, the puzzle's slowly forming a picture. I see it, but it's not complete by any stretch of the imagination. There's still so much that we don't have answered, especially on the Titan side. Again, so much we don't know. But yeah, that's pretty insane. Okay. Why did the serum work when you licked it, but you wanted to inject it? Why didn't you just make her swallow it? What was the point of injecting? I would have much rather swallowed it than inject myself with a needle. Thank you, sir. Why'd you try it if you knew that it was gonna work? Why? I guess we'll find out next episode. But yeah, I don't know how long I've talked. I've probably talked a while. I don't know how long I've talked with this, but I've gone through 2.5 boards again. We're gonna need a bigger whiteboard. No, I'm not buying another whiteboard. Absolutely not. But I'm gonna probably be using this a lot. But oh man, Historia. I was thinking actually going into this episode, I was like, Historia, girl, are you going to drop down to A rank for me? I was thinking that the other day. I was like, if Historia is going through with this and she's drinking the Kool-Aid, she's going to drop down to at least A rank because that's not cool. Ymir's like, we're OTP, bitch. We ain't going anywhere. We're staying in S rank. So yeah, this episode was bonkers, but I loved it. I feel much better in this episode than I did coming out of last episode, but I'm so excited by everything on this board. My brain is mush, but in a good way. There's so many questions, but Historia being badass was absolutely awesome. My favorite Historia moment is her with the chains over Eren. That and punching Eren in the face. That part was great. But because he needed it. Just like, come on, buddy. I know you're having a moment, but we got things to do. We can talk about this later. And I hope they do talk about it because I feel so badly for Eren and him feeling just worthless. And it's like, dude, no, you have the power of the Ultimate Titan, and I'm not so sure that you can't use it. So, I'm curious to know what y'all thought of this episode. Please tag spoilers below if you have them. Please tag spoilers below, but, this episode was wonderful. This is a great way to start the week. So, in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back again soon with episode 8 of season 3, part 1 of Attack on Titan. Bye.